Okay, let's unpack this. You ever watch a movie that just, I don't know, right from the start, it makes you kind of sit up and go, okay, this is different, especially in the action genre.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those films that really challenge your expectations.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into one of those, the 2017 action thriller Atomic Blonde. David Leitch directed it. Charlize Theron stars as MI6 agent Lorraine Broughton.
Set in Cold War Berlin, right? Just before the wall comes down, super tense atmosphere.
Totally. She's there to get back this stolen list, this dossier, and also figure out who killed another agent. It's messy. So our mission today for this deep dive is really to look at how Atomic Blonde handles its strong female lead, how it tackles some tough themes like abuse and resilience, and, I mean, you can't ignore it, the incredible cinematic style it uses to tell the story.
Right, because it got a lot of praise for that style, and Theron's performance was just killer.
But also some criticism, yeah, about the plot maybe being a bit tangled.
Yeah, a bit convoluted for some, but it makes it really interesting for a deep dive,
Yeah.
because it got so much attention for, well, how it played with and maybe even broke some of the usual molds for women in action films. It really kept off a lot of talk about female agency, power dynamics, and it wasn't just another action flick. It gave us a lot to chew on.
So let's start there.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the strong female character, we hear that phrase a lot, but sometimes it feels a bit flat, like just stoic and tough, maybe even written kind of for the male gaze.
That's a really common critique, yeah.
Yeah.
That strength often means shutting down emotion, being invulnerable. But Lorraine Broughton in Atomic Blonde,
She's different.
how so? What makes her stand out?
Well, what's fascinating here is how nuanced she is. I mean, yes, she's incredibly skilled, totally lethal, everything you expect from a top MI6 agent,
Yeah.
but she's also got this raw vulnerability.
It's not just hinted at. You see it. She's not just this fighting machine. Her portrayal digs deeper than a lot of action heroines. There's this mix of, like, total brutality, but also moments of, I don't know, maybe tenderness isn't the right word, but real human feeling.
So the film's saying strength and vulnerability aren't opposites. It can exist together.
Exactly. And that's crucial. Think about how often we actually see her dealing with the consequences of the violence.
Right, like those scenes in the ice bath, or just nursing her wounds alone with some vodka. It's not glamorous.
Not at all. She's bruised, exhausted, emotionally spent. The film shows her grappling with the sheer toll of that life. We see the struggle alongside the badass moments.
So it's suggesting that real strength isn't just about the physical stuff, the fighting.
I think so. It connects strength more to emotional resilience. The ability to actually process what you're going through, not just ignoring it or being immune to it. It's the fortitude to keep going despite the cost.
And the way the film is shot, cinematography, does that play into showing this complexity?
Oh, absolutely. The visual framing is key. Jonathan Sela, the cinematographer, does amazing work. How Lorraine is positioned in the frame, the use of light and shadow, it constantly highlights her psychological state. It contrasts her public persona, this like cool, collected spy, with the private reality of someone who's deeply scarred, morally maybe a bit ambiguous.
Yeah.
It really pushes back against the idea that female characters have to be simple, easy to define archetypes. She's allowed to be messy and contradictory.
Which kind of leads us into the next big theme, the way the film handles abuse and violence. It's pretty unflinching.
It really is.
It doesn't just show her dishing out violence, but also experiencing it, navigating this
Right.
world filled with trauma as both, well, victim and perpetrator sometimes. It feels like it's challenging traditional gender roles there, too.
Yeah, this raises an important question. How does it depict that violence? Because Lorraine is in this incredibly brutal environment. Betrayal is everywhere, and the lines between who's the victim and who's the aggressor get really blurry. The film is explicit about the physical toll. You see the cuts, the bruises, the exhaustion. Her scars aren't just like cool battle trophies. They're evidence of what she endures.
Yet she takes a lot of punishment.
A serious amount. But she also inflicts serious harm. So it makes you think about female agency in these really violent contexts. Is she empowered? Is she trapped? It's complex.
And what feels different, maybe, is how it deals with the gender dynamics within that abuse.
Right.
It seems to actively avoid certain cliches.
You mean like the typical reliance on sexual violence tropes for female characters?
Exactly. It sidesteps that. Instead, she's facing down aggressors, fighting back, but it doesn't frame her purely as a victim in the traditional sense. She maintains her power, her agency, even when she's being hurt. Feels quite subversive for the genre.
It really does. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the film uses this to explore the psychological impact. Her past experiences, the trauma she carries, they clearly shape how she acts, how she forms relationships, or maybe doesn't form them. It adds to this picture of her being flawed, yes, but still formidable. And that emotional depth, again, it pushes back against that stoic warrior woman thing. It argues that feeling things, being vulnerable, is actually part of her strength.
Interesting.
And her connections, particularly, her relationship with Delphine, the French agent.
Yeah.
That emotional connection is shown as maybe a source of strength, or at least potential strength, not just a liability or weakness, which is often how relationships are treated for female action leads.
Okay, so we have this complex character, these heavy themes. But how does Atomic Blonde actually feel to watch? Because a huge part of its identity is the style, right? The visuals, the action.
Oh, undeniably. The style is inseparable from the substance here.
So how does it pull that off? What makes it so visually distinct?
Well, you have Jonathan Sayla's cinematography again. That color palette is just iconic. The neon blues and pinks cutting through the drab gray reality of a Cold War Berlin. It's stunning.
Yeah, the contrast is amazing.
And it's not just pretty pictures. It enhances the mood, the tension, underscores the grit beneath the glamour. And then you have David Leitch's direction, Elizabeth Ronaldsdotter's editing. The camera work is inventive. The transitions are slick.
Plus the music, the production design.
Exactly. Those neon signs, the graffiti, the period pop soundtrack, it all works together to just plunge you into this very specific, very heightened world. Sometimes it feels almost like a music video, but in a way that serves the story's intensity.
And then there's the action itself. Here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's brutal, right? But also weirdly stylish.
It's a fascinating blend. Brutality and glamour side by side. Lorraine looks immaculate, poised, but the violence she engages in is raw, messy, desperate sometimes.
You can see influences maybe,
Yeah.
like born with the using everyday objects.
For sure, that found object combat is definitely there. Fighting with a corkscrew or a hose.
Yeah.
And maybe a bit of John Wick's gun fu, that stylized mix of shooting and martial arts. Leitch worked on Wick, so that makes sense.
Right.
But it still feels like its own thing. It has a particular rhythm. And then, of course, there's that sequence.
The hallway sequence, or maybe the stairwell sequence is more accurate.
Ah, yes. The 10-minute, seemingly single-take climax, it's breathtaking.
And it feels different from the earlier fights, doesn't it? Less reliant on music.
Completely. It strips away the soundtrack for large parts and just leaves you with the ambient sounds, the grunts, the impacts, the heavy breathing. It focuses purely on the physicality, the endurance.
You really feel her exhaustion.
Absolutely. The camera work is relentless, kinetic. It follows her through that stairwell, into apartments, back out.
Yeah.
It puts you right there with her, feeling every blow, sharing her desperation. It's less about graceful choreography and more about sheer will to survive.
I heard that scene took ages to plan and shoot.
Yeah, weeks apparently. Which speaks to the commitment to making that violence feel real, feel costly. It's an incredible piece of filmmaking.
I mean, watching it, my own muscles kind of ached in sympathy. You just feel the sheer effort involved. So pulling back a bit, how do specific techniques like camera angles or the way shots are framed help us connect with Lorraine on that deeper level we were talking about?
They're absolutely crucial. It's not just about cool shots. Things like framing her through doorways or using reflections that creates this sense of voyeurism maybe, but also intrigue, unease. It mirrors her own experience of navigating a world where everyone is watching and no one can be trusted.
Okay.
And think about camera angles. Low angles can emphasize power or threat. Dutch angles, those tilted shots, instantly create tension, a sense of things being off-kilter, psychologically distressing.
Right, reflecting her state of mind.
Exactly. All these visual choices aren't just decoration, they're part of the storytelling, deepening our understanding of Lorraine's internal struggles as she deals with all the violence and betrayal. It's visual storytelling done exceptionally well. We're not just watching her, we're experiencing the world through her, in a way.
So, if we were to boil it down, Atomic Blonde isn't just a slick spy movie.
Not at all.
It's really digging into gender dynamics. It's rethinking what a strong female character looks like by making vulnerability part of that strength.
Mm-hmm.
And it explores the impact of abuse and violence with this just really striking visual language.
Well put, yeah. And I think its cultural impact was pretty significant because of that. It felt like maybe a step forward, or at least a notable point, in how Hollywood approaches female leads in action. It definitely contributed to that ongoing evolution.
It definitely left a mark,
For sure.
which maybe leaves us and you listening with a final thought to chew on. When we see films like Atomic Blonde give us these more nuanced portrayals, how might that change what we expect or even demand from characters, especially female characters in the future? Does strength need to look different in our stories?
That's a good question. Maybe it's less about being bulletproof and more about how you carry the weight.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.